Welcome to English Lane. Today we begin the complete life story of Steve Ballmer, one of the most energetic and influential business leaders in the world. This is part 1, Early Life and Childhood. Birth and Family Background. Stephen Anthony Ballmer was born on March 24, 1956 in Detroit, Michigan, United States. Detroit was known as the heart of the American automobile industry, the place where companies like Ford, Chrysler, and General Motors were building millions of cars. Steve's father, Frederick Henry Ballmer, was a Swiss immigrant who worked as a manager at Ford Motor Company. His mother, Beatrice Dworkin, came from a Jewish family in Belarus. Together, they raised Steve and his sister in a middle-class home. Growing up in Detroit in the 1950s and 1960s meant living in a city of opportunities, but also challenges. Detroit was booming with factories and jobs, yet it was also facing social and economic struggles. From a very young age, Steve's parents taught him the value of hard work, discipline, and education. His father believed in working long hours to achieve success, and this example strongly influenced Steve's own work ethic later in life. Childhood personality. As a child, Steve Ballmer was not quiet or shy. In fact, he was the complete opposite. He was loud, energetic, and full of life. Friends and family remember him as a boy who was always talking, laughing, and sometimes even shouting with excitement. He loved numbers, puzzles, and solving problems. While many children played outside for hours, Steve often enjoyed sitting with books or challenging his mind with math problems. Still, he was also social and loved being around people. This combination, a love for learning and a big, bold personality, would later define him as a leader. School years. Steve attended Detroit Country Day School, a private preparatory school that was very competitive. The school was famous for pushing students to aim high in academics, sports, and leadership. At Detroit Country Day, Steve proved himself as an excellent student. He excelled especially in mathematics. His teachers noticed that he could solve difficult problems faster than most other students. But Steve was not only focused on academics, he also joined activities, clubs, and sports. He played on the football team and ran track. Even though he was not the most athletic student, his enthusiasm made him stand out. He loved cheering for his team and motivating others, even when he was not the star player. Achievements in high school. By the time Steve reached his teenage years, it was clear he was an extraordinary student. He scored perfect marks in mathematics and won several awards for academic excellence. He became the valedictorian of his class, meaning he graduated at the top. He also scored a remarkable 800 out of 800 in the math section of the SAT exam, a rare and prestigious achievement. His teachers often said Steve had the potential to succeed in any field he chose. Some thought he might become a scientist, an engineer, or even a lawyer. Love for reading and curiosity. Another interesting fact about young Steve Ballmer was his love for reading. He enjoyed not only textbooks, but also stories, history, and biographies. He liked to learn how successful people achieved their goals. This habit of reading gave him a wide knowledge base and strong communication skills. Even as a teenager, he could speak confidently about many different subjects, from sports to economics. Early signs of leadership. Even before college, Steve Ballmer showed signs of being a natural leader. He liked organizing events, guiding classmates, and speaking in front of groups. He was not afraid to raise his voice, share his opinion, and try to convince others. Sometimes his enthusiasm was overwhelming. Some classmates thought he was too loud or too intense. But many others loved his energy and motivation. This bold personality, sometimes criticized, sometimes admired, became his trademark in later life. Preparing for the future. By the time he finished high school, Steve Ballmer was ready for the next step. He had top grades, strong math skills, leadership qualities, and an unstoppable personality. His achievements opened the door to one of the most prestigious universities in the world, Harvard University. And so, in 1973, Steve Ballmer left Detroit and began the next chapter of his life at Harvard. A chapter that would change his destiny forever. Part 2. Harvard Years. Entering Harvard University. In 1973, at the age of 17, Steve Ballmer was accepted into Harvard University, one of the most respected and competitive universities in the world. For a boy from Detroit, this was a huge step. At Harvard, he decided to study applied mathematics and economics. He loved numbers, and mathematics came naturally to him. But he also wanted to understand how the business world worked, so he combined his passion for math with economics. When Steve arrived at Harvard, he was surrounded by brilliant students from all over the country and the world. Many of them were future leaders, scientists, writers, and entrepreneurs. It was an environment full of ambition, energy, and ideas. Academic excellence. Steve quickly made a name for himself as one of the top students. In mathematics, he was outstanding. He had the ability to solve difficult problems quickly and explain them to others with clarity. In economics, he learned about supply and demand, market forces, and how companies and governments make decisions. These lessons gave him the foundation that later helped him manage one of the biggest corporations in the world. But Steve Ballmer was not just about academics. He was a lively personality on campus. While many students stayed quiet, Steve was always active, loud, and full of confidence. Managing the football team. At Harvard, Steve became the manager of the Crimson football team. This was not a glamorous position. He was not a player on the field, but he took responsibility for organizing schedules, helping coaches, and motivating the team. This role taught him valuable lessons. Teamwork. Success comes when people work together. Leadership. A leader must inspire others even when facing difficulties. Discipline. Managing a sports team requires time, planning, and dedication. Later in life, when Steve became famous for his high-energy speeches at Microsoft meetings, people could trace that enthusiasm back to his days of cheering loudly at Harvard football games. Dorm life and meeting. Bill Gates. One of the most important events of Steve Ballmer's Harvard years was meeting Bill Gates. Bill Gates was a couple of years younger than Steve. Unlike Steve, who was studying math and economics, Bill was obsessed with computers and programming. At a time when computers were still large machines used mostly in universities and government labs, Bill dreamed of making software for a future where personal computers would be everywhere. At first, Steve and Bill seemed very different. Bill was quiet, analytical, and deeply focused on programming. Steve was loud, social, and more interested in business and management. But despite these differences, they respected each other. Bill admired Steve's energy and leadership skills, while Steve admired Bill's technical genius. This friendship, formed in the dormitories of Harvard, would later change both of their lives. Extracurricular activities. Steve also took part in other campus activities. He contributed to the Harvard Crimson newspaper and the Harvard Advocate literary magazine. He was curious about many subjects and liked being part of different groups. Steve enjoyed debate and discussion, where he could raise his booming voice and present his arguments passionately. Many classmates remembered him as someone who could never go unnoticed in a room. Discovering his strengths. During his time at Harvard, Steve realized something important. He was not going to be a programmer like Bill Gates. He was not interested in spending nights writing code. Instead, he discovered his true strengths: organizing people, motivating teams. Seeing the big picture in business, he loved solving business challenges more than technical problems. He enjoyed being in positions where he could lead, influence, and make people excited about a shared goal. This self-discovery gave Steve a clear direction for his career. Personality on campus. Steve Ballmer became well known on campus for his unique personality. He was loud. His voice could fill any room. Energetic. He was always moving, talking, and engaging with people. Competitive. Whether it was academics, sports, or even games, Steve wanted to win. Some students thought he was too much, but many others loved his enthusiasm. Even then, people could sense that he was destined for leadership. Graduation. In 1977, after 4 years at Harvard, Steve Ballmer graduated with a degree in applied mathematics and economics. By the time of his graduation, he had built a strong academic foundation in math and economics, learned leadership through managing the football team, discovered his love for business and organization, formed a life-changing friendship with Bill Gates. At this point, Steve was not sure exactly what career path he would take. He considered jobs in business, law, and even further studies. What he didn't know was that his connection with Bill Gates would eventually lead him into the technology world. Importance of Harvard years. The Harvard experience shaped Steve Ballmer in multiple ways. It gave him knowledge to handle complex business problems. It gave him confidence to lead groups and motivate others. And most importantly, it connected him to Bill Gates, opening the door to Microsoft. Part 3. Early career after Harvard first job at Procter & Gamble. After graduating from Harvard in 1977, Steve Ballmer began his professional career at Procter & Gamble, P&G, one of the largest consumer goods companies in the world. He worked as an assistant product manager, which was a prestigious entry-level position at the time. At P&G, Ballmer learned many important business lessons: marketing and product management, how to understand customer needs and sell products effectively. Teamwork. Working with colleagues from different departments to achieve a common goal. Professional discipline. Corporate work required punctuality, planning, and attention to detail. Although Steve was successful at P&G, he realized that he wanted a more dynamic career, one where he could make a bigger impact and be closer to innovation and technology. Considering an MBA at Stanford. After a few years at P&G, Steve decided to further his education. He applied to the Stanford Graduate School of Business, one of the most prestigious business schools in the United States. At Stanford, he began studying advanced management, finance, and organizational behavior. This helped him understand how large organizations operate, how strategies are formed, and how leaders motivate employees. While at Stanford, Steve was already thinking about combining his business skills with the fast-growing technology industry. Computers were starting to enter offices and homes, and he could see that there was an enormous opportunity. Reconnecting with Bill Gates. In 1980, a life-changing call arrived from Steve's old friend, Bill Gates. Bill, who was already working on Microsoft, invited Steve to join the company. At that time, Microsoft was still a small company. It had fewer than 30 employees and was focused on creating software for personal computers. It was risky. No one could have guaranteed its success. Steve had to make a difficult choice: continue with his MBA at Stanford and pursue a traditional corporate career, leave the MBA program, and join a small, risky software company run by his friend. After careful consideration, Steve decided to take the risk and join Microsoft. This decision would define his entire career. Joining Microsoft, Steve Ballmer officially joined Microsoft in 1980 as the company's first business manager. His role was crucial. He would handle sales, operations, and overall business management, while Bill Gates focused on programming and product development. Ballmer was employee number 30 at Microsoft, meaning he was part of the very first group of people shaping the company's future. At Microsoft, Steve's skills in leadership, organization, and motivation were immediately valuable. He hired new employees and built teams, created business strategies and sales plans, motivated programmers, engineers, and staff to work efficiently. His energy and enthusiasm were unmatched. Even during early meetings, Steve would stand up, clap, and encourage his colleagues to give their best. This was the beginning of his high-energy leadership style, which he would become famous for in later years. Challenges in the early days. Microsoft in 1980 was very different from the Microsoft we know today. It faced many challenges. Personal computers were still new, and many businesses were unsure about their usefulness. Competitors were emerging, and the software market was small. The team was small, resources were limited, and every decision mattered. Steve Ballmer embraced these challenges. His belief in Bill Gates's vision, combined with his own business acumen, helped Microsoft survive and grow during these uncertain times. Learning and growing. Even though Steve had a strong educational background, Microsoft taught him lessons that no classroom could provide. Risk-taking. Leaving a stable career for a startup was a huge risk. Leadership in real situations, managing teams, motivating employees, and resolving conflicts in real time. Understanding technology from a business perspective. Steve wasn't a programmer, but he learned enough to communicate effectively with engineers and understand the market for software. These early experiences prepared him for the next stage of his life, climbing the ranks at Microsoft and eventually becoming CEO. Part 4. Climbing the ranks at Microsoft. Early days at Microsoft. When Steve Ballmer joined Microsoft in 1980, the company was still small, with fewer than 30 employees. Bill Gates, the co-founder, was fully focused on programming and product development. Steve's role was to manage the business side of the company. He was the first person at Microsoft with a formal business management role. This meant he was responsible for hiring new employees, managing sales, building teams, and making strategic decisions to grow the company. From day one, Steve showed extraordinary energy and passion. He often clapped, cheered, and shouted encouragement during meetings. His colleagues quickly noticed that he could motivate people like no one else. Taking responsibility. In the early 1980s, Microsoft faced tough challenges. Personal computers were still new, and the market was unpredictable. The company had to compete with other software developers. Every decision could make or break the business. Steve embraced these challenges. He personally oversaw sales operations, ensuring that Microsoft products reached customers efficiently. He also focused on building a strong team culture, hiring people who shared Microsoft's vision. His leadership style was intense, energetic, and hands-on. He often visited teams personally, asking questions, checking progress, and motivating staff. This approach helped Microsoft grow steadily despite fierce competition, big deals, and business strategy. During this period, Microsoft made several key deals that transformed the company. MS-DOS with IBM. Microsoft's operating system deal with IBM was a turning point. Steve Ballmer played an important role in negotiating business terms and ensuring successful implementation. Licensing agreements. Steve helped develop strategies for licensing Microsoft software to multiple hardware companies, which expanded the company's market presence. Employee management. He developed training programs and systems to keep employees motivated and productive. These experiences helped Steve understand how to scale a small company into a major global business. Leadership style emerges. By the mid-1980s, Steve Ballmer's personality became legendary at Microsoft. He was known for passion. His energy in meetings was contagious. Directness. He spoke frankly, sometimes loudly, to make points clear. Motivating others. He could inspire employees to work harder and stay committed. One famous example of his leadership style came from his meetings with software developers. He would often shout, "Developers! Developers! Developers!" To emphasize the importance of software creation, this phrase became symbolic of his approach: passionate, focused, and energetic. Challenges. Along the way, climbing the ranks wasn't easy. Steve faced multiple challenges. Microsoft was growing rapidly, and managing a larger team required more skill. Competition in the software market was intensifying, with companies like Apple, Lotus, and IBM pushing hard. Balancing technical innovation with business operations was a constant challenge. Steve used organization, motivation, and strategic thinking to overcome these hurdles. He learned to manage conflicts, allocate resources effectively, and maintain high morale among employees. Achievements before becoming CEO. By the late 1990s, Steve Ballmer had accomplished significant milestones, tripling Microsoft's revenue through strong business strategies and licensing deals, building a strong managerial team capable of running multiple divisions, creating a culture of high performance, encouraging innovation while maintaining discipline. His consistent performance and leadership qualities positioned him as the natural successor to Bill Gates when the time came for a leadership transition. Key takeaways from this period. Steve Ballmer learned the importance of energy and enthusiasm in leadership. He understood the value of business strategy in technology companies. He developed skills in team building, motivation, and scaling operations. His work during this period directly prepared him to become CEO of Microsoft in the year 2000. Part 5. Becoming CEO of Microsoft. The transition to CEO. In January 2000, Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates decided to step down as CEO and focus on his role as Chief Software Architect. This created a leadership vacuum at the company. Steve Ballmer, after years of climbing the ranks and proving his abilities, was chosen as the next chief executive officer. At the time, Microsoft was already a technology giant, but it faced new challenges. Rapid growth of the internet competition from emerging tech companies. Need for global expansion. Steve's appointment was seen as a natural choice. His energy, management skills, and deep understanding of the company culture made him the right candidate to take Microsoft into the new millennium. Early vision as CEO, Steve Ballmer emphasized revenue growth, expanding Microsoft's profits through software sales, licensing, and new products. Employee motivation, continuing his high-energy, enthusiastic approach to leadership. Innovation, encouraging teams to develop new software, tools, and services for the emerging digital world. One of his first major goals was to strengthen Microsoft's position in the software market, particularly against competitors like Apple and the newly emerging Google. Major initiatives under Ballmer. During his early years as CEO, Steve focused on several key areas. 1. Windows operating system. Windows XP was launched in 2001, and it became one of the most successful operating systems in history. Steve oversaw marketing, sales, and global distribution. 2. Microsoft Office Suite. Ballmer expanded the Office software line, ensuring businesses worldwide relied on Microsoft for productivity tools. He emphasized licensing and bundle deals to dominate the enterprise market. 3. Enterprise services. Under Ballmer, Microsoft entered server software and enterprise solutions, aiming to compete with IBM and Oracle. 4. Internet and new technologies. Although initially late to fully embrace the Internet, Microsoft under Ballmer invested in online services, search engines, and early cloud initiatives. Leadership style. As CEO, Steve Ballmer's leadership style became legendary, energetic and passionate. He was known for standing on stage, clapping, and shouting to inspire employees. Hands-on. He personally monitored key projects, sales strategies, and product launches. Competitive. Ballmer encouraged employees to outperform competitors, famously saying, "Developers, developers, developers," to stress the importance of software innovation. While this style inspired many, it also received criticism for being too intense and sometimes aggressive. Challenges faced. Despite his achievements, Ballmer faced several challenges. Competition with Apple and Google. Microsoft's dominance in software was challenged by mobile technology, internet search, and emerging platforms. Windows Vista. The launch of Windows Vista in 2007 faced criticism due to performance issues and compatibility problems. Antitrust lawsuits. Microsoft had already faced legal scrutiny, and Ballmer had to navigate regulatory challenges globally. Mobile market. Microsoft struggled to compete in smartphones and tablets, which became a growing concern in the 2000s. Major achievements as CEO. Despite challenges, Ballmer achieved remarkable successes, tripling Microsoft's revenue from $25 billion in 2000 to over $70 billion by 2010. Expanding Microsoft into new markets, including enterprise solutions and cloud computing. Maintaining Microsoft's position as the leading software company globally. Building a strong corporate culture focused on innovation, energy, and performance. Legacy of his CEO era. Steve Ballmer's tenure as CEO is remembered for high-energy leadership, inspiring employees to achieve ambitious goals, strategic growth, expanding Microsoft's business and maintaining profitability. Focus on enterprise and productivity software, dominating business tools worldwide. Preparation for the future, laying the groundwork for Microsoft's cloud and subscription services. At the same time, critics note that Microsoft under Ballmer missed some opportunities in mobile and search markets, which allowed competitors like Apple and Google to dominate. Part 6. Major Achievements and Controversies. Windows Growth and Market Dominance. During Steve Ballmer's tenure as CEO, Microsoft experienced unprecedented growth in its software products. Windows operating system. Windows XP 2001 became a global success, used in homes and businesses worldwide. Windows Vista 2007 faced criticism due to performance and compatibility issues, but it paved the way for Windows 7, which was highly successful. Windows 8 introduced a modern interface, though it received mixed reviews. Microsoft Office Suite under Ballmer, Microsoft Office became the industry standard for productivity software. Products like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook dominated the business and education sectors. Enterprise software and server solutions. Ballmer expanded Microsoft into enterprise software, including Windows Server, SQL Server, and SharePoint. These products became essential for large companies and governments. Strategic acquisitions. Ballmer led Microsoft through several high-profile acquisitions, aiming to diversify the company's offerings. Skype, 2011, acquired to strengthen Microsoft's communication tools. Navision, 2002, expanded Microsoft's business management solutions. Aquantive, 2007, an internet advertising company aimed at competing with Google, though it didn't yield expected results. While some acquisitions were successful, others faced criticism for not delivering the expected returns. Controversies and criticism. 1. Antitrust lawsuits. Microsoft had already faced antitrust lawsuits in the late 1990s. Ballmer had to navigate legal challenges in the U.S. and Europe. He maintained Microsoft's dominance while complying with regulatory requirements. 2. Mobile and Internet missed opportunities. Microsoft struggled to compete in the smartphone and tablet markets. Windows Phone and Zune failed to challenge Apple and Android devices. Critics argue that these missed opportunities allowed competitors to dominate emerging tech markets. 3. Leadership style criticism. Ballmer's high energy and sometimes aggressive style inspired employees, but some found it overwhelming or intimidating. Public appearances often showcased his intense personality, which became both his trademark and a point of critique. Key achievements. Despite challenges. Despite controversies, Steve Ballmer achieved remarkable milestones. Revenue growth. Microsoft's revenue grew from $25 billion in 2000 to over $70 billion by 2010. Global expansion. Microsoft became a dominant software company worldwide. Cloud computing foundations. Initiated early investments in cloud services, paving the way for Azure. Enterprise market leadership. Microsoft became the go-to software provider for businesses, governments, and educational institutions. Leadership lessons from Ballmer. Passion and energy matter. Enthusiasm can inspire teams to achieve ambitious goals. Focus on core strengths. Ballmer emphasized Microsoft's dominance in software and enterprise solutions. Take calculated risks. Acquisitions and new projects sometimes failed, but taking risks is essential for growth. Learn from failures. Missed opportunities in mobile and search taught important business lessons. Part 7. Leaving Microsoft and life after Microsoft. Preparing to leave. Microsoft. After more than 30 years at Microsoft, Steve Ballmer decided it was time to step down as CEO. By 2013, the technology landscape had changed dramatically. Cloud computing was growing rapidly. Mobile devices dominated the market. Microsoft needed a new leader to guide the company into the next era. Steve announced his retirement as CEO in August 2013, but he remained involved as a board member until a smooth transition was complete. Reflecting on his tenure, Ballmer left Microsoft with a remarkable legacy. Microsoft was one of the most valuable technology companies in the world. The company had tripled its revenue under his leadership. He left a strong management team and a corporate culture focused on innovation and energy. While critics mentioned missed opportunities in mobile and internet search, his achievements in software, enterprise solutions, and global expansion were undeniable. Buying the Los Angeles Clippers. After leaving Microsoft, Steve Ballmer pursued a new passion: sports ownership. In 2014, he purchased the Los Angeles Clippers, an NBA basketball team, for $2 billion. Ballmer became known for his enthusiasm at games, often shouting, clapping, and cheering for the team. Under his ownership, the Clippers became a stronger, more competitive team, both on and off the court. Buying the Clippers allowed Ballmer to combine his love for sports with his business acumen, applying lessons from Microsoft to team management. Philanthropy and giving back. Steve Ballmer is also known for his philanthropic efforts. He and his wife, Connie Ballmer, have donated hundreds of millions of dollars to causes such as education, improving schools, teaching methods, and access to quality education; healthcare, supporting research and programs to improve public health; community development, funding projects that help underserved communities. Ballmer's approach to philanthropy reflects the same passion and energy he brought to business. He invests, motivates, and follows up to ensure impact. Lessons from life after Microsoft. Even after stepping down, Ballmer continues to inspire with his philosophy. Follow your passions. Whether technology or sports, pursue what excites you. Energy is contagious. Enthusiasm motivates people and drives success. Back. Success is not only about money, it's about making a positive impact on society. Keep learning. Ballmer continues to explore new ventures and opportunities, showing that learning never stops. Public persona. Today, Steve Ballmer is seen as a visionary businessman who shaped Microsoft's growth, a passionate sports owner who brought excitement to the Clippers, a generous philanthropist supporting education and community programs, an energetic leader whose style continues to inspire future generations. Despite leaving the corporate spotlight, Ballmer's influence in technology, sports, and philanthropy remains strong. Part 8. Conclusion and Leadership Lessons. Recap of Steve Ballmer's life. Steve Ballmer's journey is a story of energy, dedication, and bold decisions. Early life. Born in 1956 in Detroit, Michigan, raised in a hard-working family, and excelled in mathematics and academics. Harvard years. Studied applied mathematics and economics, managed the football team, and met Bill Gates, forming a life-changing friendship. Early career, worked at Procter & Gamble, studied at Stanford, and made the bold decision to join Microsoft. Climbing Microsoft played a key role in sales, operations, and team building, helping Microsoft grow rapidly. CEO of Microsoft, took over in 2000, led Windows growth, expanded Office and enterprise software, faced challenges, and left a lasting impact. Major achievements and controversies: oversaw revenue growth, acquisitions, and global expansion while navigating missed opportunities and competition. Life after Microsoft. Purchased the LA Clippers, focused on philanthropy, and continued inspiring through energy and leadership. Key leadership lessons from Steve Ballmer. 1. Passion and energy can inspire others. Steve's high-energy approach motivated employees and teams. Standing up, clapping, and expressing enthusiasm helped create a culture of motivation and drive. 2. Take calculated risks. Leaving a secure career path and joining a small startup, Microsoft, shows the value of taking bold, informed risks for long-term rewards. 3. Focus on strengths. Steve understood early that he was not a programmer like Bill Gates. Instead, he focused on his strengths in business, leadership, and team management, showing the importance of leveraging your unique skills. 4. Persistence in challenges. Throughout his career, Ballmer faced competition, failed projects, and criticism. Yet, he persisted, adapted, and continued to push Microsoft forward. 5. Give back to society. Ballmer's philanthropy demonstrates that true success includes helping others. Supporting education, healthcare, and community development reflects the broader impact a leader can have. Steve Ballmer's influence today. Technology leadership shaped Microsoft into a global software leader. Sports enthusiasm energized the Los Angeles Clippers and engaged fans. Philanthropy donated extensively to education and social causes. Inspiration demonstrates how energy, passion, and dedication can create lasting impact in multiple fields. Lessons for English learners. While listening to Steve Ballmer's biography, focus on new vocabulary related to business, leadership, and technology. Notice sentence structures used in storytelling. Pay attention to chronology, from childhood to career and philanthropy. Practice listening comprehension by summarizing each part in your own words. By following this approach, learners can improve vocabulary, comprehension, and listening skills effectively. Closing remarks. Thank you for listening to Steve Ballmer's complete biography on English Lane. If you enjoyed this detailed story and found it helpful for English learning, don't forget to like this video, comment your thoughts below, subscribe to English Lane for more educational stories and English listening practice. Remember, Steve Ballmer's journey shows that energy, dedication, and persistence can change the world. Apply these lessons in your own life and keep learning every day.